From India. Of course, behind every number is a wide network of people who are grieving the loss of loved ones, but also grappling with the fact that many people died alone. Well, back in April, the BBC spoke to Meyer, whose dad, David, died suddenly after contracting COVID-19 here in the UK.
My name is Meyer, and my dad passed away from COVID-19 on the 29th of March 2020. Dad moved to the intensive care unit and spent 7 days there on a ventilator. He made minor improvements each day, kept us very hopeful, but on the 7th day he developed some kind of blood poisoning, and the hospital informed us that he would be dead within a matter of hours.
Well, Liam joins me now from his home in Devon in southwest England. Liam, welcome to the programme. You recorded that back in April when things were incredibly raw still for you. What is it like now? And as we approach this extraordinary milestone, what are your thoughts?
It still feels like a dream, if I'm honest. And I think with COVID still carrying on, I think it is delaying the grieving process. And that echoes with people that I've been fortunate to speak to who are in the same position as me, and it's just so sad that it's still carrying on, and we just don't really want anyone else to go through what we've been through, really.
I'll come back to that group that you set up in a moment or two, but in terms of your father, were you able to have any sort of conversations after he went in hospital? That whole area of people being separated, people dying alone, in terms of what happened to you, just take us through it.
Yeah, Dad was in hospital for about 11 days altogether. For the first few days he was conscious and was on oxygen. So we did manage to speak to him on the phone a few times, but then when he went to ICU to be ventilated to kind of give his body a rest and see if he could fight the virus, obviously we couldn't have any contact with him. The hospital were brilliant with their communication. I was fortunate enough that Dad was in the hospital that I work in, so the communication was phenomenal. I did manage to go to see Dad in ICU behind a screen 3 times, but when he did pass away, lockdown had been enforced and the cases were rising and we were unable to be with him. But we've been fortunate enough to speak to the members of staff that were with him, but it was an extremely hard thing to have, to go through.
I'm sure that is true. And in the months that follow, 2 final questions for you. I mean, in recent weeks and months, we keep seeing people complaining vociferously at times about over restrictions, about limits on their freedoms, about wearing masks, about sticking to the rules. When you see that, and you of course work in a hospital, what are your thoughts?
It's difficult because I still feel, talking to people, that there are small bubbles of people that haven't been affected at all. So I can see how they can perceive the situation to be, not true or some kind of conspiracy theory. But it is quite difficult for us seeing that. Sometimes it can feel like a personal attack, even though those people don't know me or don't know what I've been through. But also, like I mentioned before, I just don't want those people to go through what we're going through. And it's just such a shame that there are people that, don't want to abide by the rules. And I can partly understand, because I think, this situation we're in with the government's decisions, it can be quite confusing.
And grief is often cumulative in the sense that the longer that you've been without them, the more it actually affects families and loved ones. Has that been the case for you? And in terms of your group that you set up alone together, what was the best bit of advice that you either gave or actually heard?
The best bit of advice I've had was from a lovely lady that's in my group who lost her 17-year-old son to COVID, and it was just be kind to yourself, because the grieving process, you're up and down, you can be angry, you can be vacant, and you just got to accept that and just not be too hard on yourself on how you're feeling. The support network has brought loads of people together that are in the same situation, and strangely enough, that's been a bit of a comfort, just being able to have people to turn to who just really get what you're going through.
Liam, we're very grateful that you have taken time to speak to us. Thanks so much for being with us on BBC News. Thanks for your time.